Hello Internet, welcome back to Asteroids VR. Today we are going to be working on making it so our spike emits some sparks. So I've already designed the particle effect. This is it. So it's relatively basic. It's got a size over lifetime curve that is not doing exactly what I wanted. There we go. So things kind of shrink over time. We have force over lifetime, and this is just random force. This is why they're kind of bending all over the place. And so the advantage here is that it looks a little bit more chaotic. It looks like the fire is kind of sending them all over the place. So they kind of, instead of just spraying out, it looks a little bit more real. At least I think it does. So there's that. We got it's emitted from a cone. You can kind of see it in there. What else? So right now for testing, I just have it constantly emitting, but this is actually going to be going away, and we're going to be emitting them ourselves. So we're actually going to be the ones selecting how many to emit. We'll get to that in a little bit. Everything else is mostly just random size, random speed, random lifetime, things like that. And then the material is just a really quick emissive material. Looks something like that, and it's just got a quick like red glow, and then the emission is just bright enough so that you get all three colors, so you get that kind of white center, and then the bloom from our post effects is actually adding that orange glow around everything and kind of finishing off the effect. And so it looks like that. I think it looks pretty good. I mean, it's basic. It took me like 15 minutes to make it because there's nothing really advanced going on here, but for what we need, it works. So this is what we're going with. So if I just quickly run through this, we've got our thing, and you can see it's constantly emitting right now. The idea is it will only emit when we stick it in this wall here, which is really hard to actually kind of get a sense of depth here, which is kind of my fault, and that's just because I used a straight white wall instead of like a Pro Builder shape or anything like that. But anyway, we've got that, and I just stuck myself with a bomb. Oops. So what we want is we want to hook into this thing on spike collision. So I'm going to copy that, and then where is it? We want scripts, weapons, emit particles, particle burst on spike. Sure. And so all this is going to do is take that's weird, public void on spike collision. This needs a argument, which is going to be our raycast hit. And it's also going to need a particle system. I believe that's what they're called. So particle system, we'll just call this the particles. And then we also need a public float of emission per second, and we'll set that to like 100 for now. And so this is going to be, it's not going to always emit 100 every time you hit it in there, because that would be a lot. So what we're going to do is we're going to move this particle system to the world space coordinates where it actually hit the thing, and then we are going to emit them. And that's just going to be a function of our frame rate over this, which may not work for some reasons, mostly because it's going to round down, and when it does that, we're probably going to get like 1, because usually virtual reality runs around 90 frames a second, which means this will result in at like 90, because the other additional like 10 are going to get rounded down and cut off. So we may have to play around with this a bit, but for now, all we need to do is to call this emit, and there's a count. So we just want to do emissions per second times time We'll take the delta time, and we want to do this by rounding up. So we'll take the ceiling of that. Ceil to int. So this is going to return an integer of the highest of whatever this result is rounded up, which is super easy, right? So I think that's pretty much all that needs to happen there. The only other thing is we need to take this particles and set its transform position equal to the hit transform position. And so its rotation should always be bound to its parent, so it's always going to be facing back down the spike, but we're going to set its position in world space equal to, actually not this, to the hit point. So wherever we hit on the object, it's going to be emitted from there. Instead of just like a tip or some static position, it's actually going to dynamically figure out where to put it and then emit from there. And so if we attach this onto our mining core over here, we want, what did we call it? Emit particle burst on spike. Oh, I should also add, I did change one more thing. I have it automatically destroy the sticky raycast when it hits this. And the reason I did that is so that it doesn't keep calling this on spike after we stick it in something. So this will only be when it's moved. Well, it'll be whenever it's stuck in something. We could probably detect if it was moved or not, but that'd be more work. So we're going to start with this, and if we need to change it, we can change it later. So we're attaching the particle system. We've got emissions per second. Everything is good. We're getting that weird error again. Permission denied. Okay. It seems to work when I retry it, so I have no idea what's going on there. But it seems to happen whenever there's an edited prefab in the scene. So who knows what's going on? I don't. All right. So now we should be able to start this. There shouldn't be any emissions. And there are. So, whoops. That didn't work. And I think the issue is I did not turn this, yep. So the initial emission is 0. So it won't emit anything by default. So let's apply that and then disable everything. And try again. So you can see there's nothing there. And then we stick it in and we get some particles. So this is going to be a really short video because that was pretty much all I had planned. You can see it stops when we take it out, and then it starts again as soon as we put it in. So we get sort of that dynamic particle effect. There is one more thing I'm noticing that I want to change, and that is our particle simulation is happening in local space. We want it to happen in world space, so as we move the emitter, all those particles don't move with it because that doesn't make any sense. For some things it makes sense, but for this it doesn't make sense that it would follow it. So we're going to change that. You just set the simulation space to world space, apply it, and then let's try this again. And now it should kind of stick around a bit. Yeah. So we get sort of that effect. And we could probably do some other fun stuff with this. We could, for example, like draw a trail if we wanted. So that's an option, but I think that's it for now. There isn't much to this. It's just hook into that event and then move the particle system. So that's super simple, but it works. So I think that's it. So if there's anything else you guys want to see, let me know in the comments, and I will see what I can do, and hope to see you guys in the next one. So until then, see you, Internet.